Kris, there's a question on everybody's mind right now. And that question is, are you afraid of AI?
Oh my gosh, terrified, Skynet, like the end of the world. I've watched the movies.
Really though, in terms of business.
First of all, I'm thrilled. I'm excited about AI. I think that I think what's scary is how rapidly it's going to change the world. And so people have not been able to wrap their mind around what does this really mean? And I'll tell you, if you think the last 5 years, the amount of innovation has gone through the roof, well, every company pretty much just hired 10,000 professor level humans that can do a lot of work for them that are struggling and hurting them and keeping them from growing. People are scared that this is going to outsource jobs. And I'm like, well, of course it is. But what it's going to do is it's going to make humans more valuable. And that's this part of the conversation that not a lot of people are thinking about.
Right. And that's why I wanted to talk to you about this, because from a business standpoint, this is a big deal. And if you haven't checked this out, go to openai.com, find out what's happening with ChatGPT and how it's changing the world.
That's just one of 20 different chat functions and chatbots that are revolutionizing businesses.
If you don't know what's going on with AI right now, you pull your head out of the sand and go find out, and then come back and listen to this, or just listen to this and then go do that. Well, but Kris, I want to know your perspective on it, because people were concerned they assumed that in the beginning AI would replace low-level jobs and then work its way up to the ladder, and that replacing creative jobs was never going to happen. But what it's done is the exact inverse. The first thing that it's threatening to replace is creative jobs. But you don't see it as a threat.
No, I actually don't think that's what's happening. Currently, with where AI is at, it's not smart enough to replace humans. What it will do is work for a smart, creative human, which means that it needs to be directed. Yes, it can do incredible, vast amounts of voluminous work in very short periods of time, but it still needs someone to direct the process and do something with it and connect the dots. Now, 2 years from now is going to be a different story, but what it's going to do is it's going to move up the food chain. So for example, in my company, what are some of the things that I'm held back by? Well, let's talk about list segmentation, right? Instead of taking my entire email list and emailing everybody all at once, because I'm going to tell you right now, email's not dead. Email is still one of the most powerful marketing tools on the planet. I have this huge email list. If I just email everything all at once, whatever's on my mind or whatever my offer is or whatever I want to create value on, I'm going to disconnect from a ton of people because they're going to say, that particular topic doesn't interest me. It's only 11% of my list that it interests. So what I do is I segment the list into different categories based on people's interests. Well, if I wanted a really great multiple time a week sophisticated newsletter to each of those segmented lists, I'd have to hire several more copywriters, and it's held us back. Well, I got news for you. ChatGTP is now my copywriter, and it will now write content, not pulled out of a hat based on my book, based on my other published articles, based on my videos. It's smart. It knows me because I've produced a lot of content. So getting it to write emails, write responses, and to communicate, allow me to communicate more frequently. Well, that's several $50,000 to $80,000 a year jobs, or a couple of $100,000 copywriter positions. I don't have to pay for that now. So I now finally get something off of my wish list, but that's just the beginning. Customer support. Every time we get more emails and more calls, I need to hire more people. Well, did you know that a lot of the appropriate email responses can now be written? Oh, I need to hire more people in marketing because we need more web pages and we need more landing pages and pages that will convert. Literally, it takes 3 seconds for ChatGTP to analyze what I have and do that for me. Hey, I'm making more YouTube videos. I'm posting 2,000 pieces of social a week. Is it all search engine optimized? Yeah, by a human being. But now a human being can ask for that to be done, which means one of two things. I'm in a growing company. I'm either going to consolidate and literally say, wow, I cut my expenses 30%. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to teach my people how to be more valuable. I'm going to teach them how to use these tools and allow their ROI to increase, which means we make more money. Guess what I'll have? If I were to predict into the future, it is true that I will not hire as many human beings, but those I hire will be paid even more well because they have more resources. They also have departments of humans called AI that can basically make them more efficient.
So I'm hearing everything that you're saying. And I'm going to ask you to project into the future just a little bit. And I know that you don't have a crystal ball and see the future, but I'm interested to know your opinions on things because you're a smart guy. You've had a lot of good experience. If someone was studying copywriting right now, should they stop?
I think that there's a lot of jobs that are about to be obsolete. When the tractor first came out, people were like, oh my gosh, this is going to take jobs left and right. Well, we were an agrarian society. And so the tractor was exciting to someone that had a lot of farmland, and it was a threat to the workers.
Do you know what a Luddite is? A Luddite, it's this thing that happened in England when the sewing machine was invented. And there was all these seamstresses that was their livelihood. And this guy Alan Ludd or something like that. And he led a mob to go destroy sewing machine factories to try and save
jobs and stop progress.
Jobs, stop progress. And so that term came about of it being terrified of technology. You're called a Luddite.
Yeah. I think if there's one thing that we should be scared of, it's not losing our jobs. It's that we're being forced to change. Yeah. As human beings, we don't like change. When we were in childhood, undesirable things happened when other people imposed change on us. These are things that other people use their agency to do to us that if we don't like, we quickly develop this opinion that if change is occurring and I'm not controlling it, it must be bad. Yeah. And so change isn't good. Now, ironically, the people that usually end up being your biggest achievers, your gold medalists, your highest level success individuals in society, these are the people that actually have a love affair with change, and they love change and they embrace change, and they're not slow to the game. They're not grudge holders. They're embracing and even welcoming it into their world. So I think that right now, the people that are going to succeed with the transition that is inevitable are people that embrace it and say, how can I use this to my advantage instead of sit back and complain and say, how is this going to hurt me? Because if you're not willing to change, change will come to you, and there's not much you can do about it.
So you think there's no going back after this?
No, it's open source. It's literally been made available to the public. And now, just in the last 45 days, they're releasing AI that is more impressive than ChatGPT. Uh-huh. So yeah, there is no rewinding the clock. There is no mob that is going to come and destroy the sewing factory of AI that's going to halt its progress. By the way,
destroying the sewing factory didn't work. The sewing machine made its way through the entire world and changed.
So I think that you have to actually say, where is the good in this? It's like the internet, man. You take a look at the internet today. There's so much bad with the internet, and there's so much good. I have teenagers. I have to be really careful of what's on the internet. And when I was growing up, it was like, oh, porn. Watch out for porn. I'm not as worried about porn or foul language with my kids. What I'm concerned about is the agenda. People keeping them from being free thinkers, free-minded, because the internet has an opinion on everything now. And it's like news. Where do you go to get news that's unfiltered, without a bias, without the left or the right? It's terrifying that we can get bought into someone else's thinking model that keeps us from actually being free thinkers. It reminds me of literally the Matrix, especially when you see that they're creating birthing centers where they can now successfully grow humans in little plastic bags. And I'm like, great, like this world is happening. And I've got to figure out how to embrace and leverage the good and just not to be a part of the bad. And I think that's existed from Cain and Abel up to where we're at today. And so as progress moves forward, there's always going to be a counterfeit. There's always going to be a dark side. And you get to choose what side you stand on. You're not going to stop it. You might try to, maybe you go back to, Mennonite ways or back to, Amish ways. But the reality is, if you're going to live in this world, you have to learn where your opinion stands with it and then how to leverage it the right way.
So, a couple directions that I'd like this to go. First off, I would love to start with the bad and then end with the good. So what are some of the negative things that you could see coming from AI?
Oh, I think there's going to be... There are good shortcuts in life and there are bad shortcuts in life. And I think that AI is going to produce both.
Both, yeah.
And so anyone that is leveraging some of the bad shortcuts, a very simple step would be plagiarism. It's like, I'm no longer doing my homework if I'm a college kid or whatever.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. I had ChatGPT helping me with algebra. Like I had this real world problem where I was like, a sales rep who made this commission, they make 20% of sale. So what was the total sale value? And ChatGPT wrote out the steps of the process. And I'm like, a kid could do their entire math homework on ChatGPT.
Yeah, which is why, by the way, 4 years ago, I pulled my kids out of the public school system. And part of it was, I don't care about the old ways of how we learned. Right now, it's about developing your mind and then teaching you how to access information. It's not about what you know. It's not about memorization. It's not about rote memory skills. Oh man, Kris Krohn, you only got 12 out of 20 right on your spelling test in third grade. You're probably going to fail in life. I'm like, who cares about that? I have a red squiggly line on every device that I use that tells me if something is spelled wrong, right? And so I don't fight it. I run with it. And so, yeah, there's definitely going to be people that leverage it the wrong way.
What other shortcuts do you perceive that could be negative?
There's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of counterfeit people. And what I mean by that is there's people that will author a book long before they actually master the process. And someone's wasting their time reading their half-baked book.
Well, AI will enhance that.
I know that. So there's a lot of, we're about to get a lot more fake news. We're about to get a lot more confusion. We're about to get a lot more noise. And so the question will be, how do you navigate through it?
Relationships. I mean, it used to be you had to have a conversation with someone in order to engage them in a relationship of some kind. Now people just text. And this is the next level where ChatGPT can tell you the right thing to say.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, will you get what you're really looking for?
I think the greatest thing at risk, and Matrix as a movie is for me all about, are you plugged into the Matrix and part of someone else's system, or are you unplugged and a free thinker? Mm-hmm. And so freedom of thought without everyone else's biases trying to hook me into their agenda is something I'm really passionate about in my life. Because what is freedom? Are you really free if you're buying into someone else's ideas and you're not even aware of it? Like, what does it actually mean to be free and unencumbered from a system? And ChatGPT, AI in general, is probably going to make that even more challenging.
So, they've got a legal AI right now that they're testing to see if it can run an entire case just from the AI being the attorney.
Yeah, but even if it's not, and you have a smart attorney that is leveraging it for resources on doing research and finding, substantiative documents, etc., it's already doing most of the work. Every in the old world, meaning prior to November 30th of 2022, the average boss would employ someone and try to get a 4x ROI on gross revenue. So if I pay you $100,000 a year, I hope that you're at least generating $400,000. If you pay you $50,000 a year, I hope you're generating $200,000. I think that in the next year, you're going to see those numbers shift dramatically. And I think this is going to help profitability of companies go up, which will help fight inflation and create stronger GDP. I think making money honestly at first is going to be easier for early adopters, people that are using it intelligently. Like, I look in my company and just about every suggested use of AI is of benefit to me. Like, I can use it. And I've got a retreat with my team next week in Mexico. And one of the major talking points is literally evaluating hundreds of ways throughout our company that we appropriately intentionally use it. Because the way I look at AI right now is it's literally a free employee. It's helping my team and my employees have more resources to shine more, to be more impressive, to get more done without working harder. And for me, what I really care about at the end of the day is we're a very results-oriented company, not an effort-oriented company. So I see this as an aid to producing enhanced results. Significantly enhanced results. Literally, I think some employees will become not just twice as valuable, they could be 4 times or 5 times more valuable. And you know who I love to give promotions and raises to? People of value. So from that perspective, I think this is good.
Okay, last thing on the negative side, and then I'd love to hear about some of your ideas of ways of implementing it to create efficiencies in business. I think a lot of people could gain from your insights on how it can be used. But first, if you go to ChatGPT and you ask it, how can I murder 100,000 people the easiest way possible? It will say...
It's terrifying.
It will say, I'm not allowed
Got it.
to talk about these things. They have limited certain areas so that it could be safe for the public.
Yeah. How do I build a bomb?
Right. And it won't answer questions like that.
Yeah.
But there are going to be groups that do.
Well, and it's also new. So honestly, it's just a matter of time.
Right.
And all things can be used for good or for bad.
Right. And is there any concern in your mind whatsoever about like the impact on terrorism or school shootings and things like that, and people using it for evil?
GTP is just another weapon.
Yeah.
But it's not the enemy. It's the people that choose to use it the wrong way, because evil will always find a way. So you can blame the weapon, or you can blame the trigger puller.
So should it be regulated, AI?
Man, that is a good question. I think we're going to have to see. I think we're so early in the game of it that I don't think people know what it is just yet. And It's interesting because I think massive fortunes are about to be made. I heard someone that literally just created a trading bot out of it, asked it the right kind of questions. It built a trading bot, and in 1 month, it did a 1,300% ROI in a pre-recessionary market. So how did it do that? Well, it's smart. So I think that you're going to get a lot of curious people that ask the right questions, that are willing to put in a little bit of work, that are going to start creating a lot of new wealth that wasn't really possible before. You're going to see some of that pop up. Same thing like Bitcoin, right? Like when when that came up, I'm like, I was sitting next to a kid literally that was a billionaire. And I looked at him and I spent a little bit of time with him. I'm like, the character of this human being does not seem to me like a person that's cultivated themselves into a high quality human being. I think this is a low quality turd of a human being. Or same thing when you have like a 16-year-old that's making $100,000 a month playing video games because they learn how to stream it. And it's like, can they responsibly use that money? Wealth is a stewardship, and when it's used, when it was earned easily, without much struggle, it often doesn't get used responsibly. So I think we're going to see some of that. It reminds me of some of the OnlyFans and some of the ladies that are out there that are literally pocketing, not hundreds of thousands, some of them millions of dollars. And it's like, is that a good thing? Well, we won't get into the moral debate. I think it's a horrible thing. That's not empowerment to me.
Okay, so let's pivot and let's talk good. I know you have a list that is ever growing of things that you're like, we could use AI for. Can you give us your top 3 or 4 that would help people trying to get into real estate? Your audience, people that are interested in making more money, becoming financially free, doing better at their job, starting businesses.
Well, what's cool is this is actually leveling the playing field for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because if you're an employee, you should be leveraging this to produce better work. You could literally get your work done significantly faster with its help, as long as you're smart about it and you double check your work, right? And as an employer, like I look at you and I, there's a book we're working on based on a project, CEO Bootcamp. This project is taking mid-level and upper managers and teaching them how to become CEOs, because in all of our companies, we're more of a private equity firm, and we are constantly developing leaders to be our next CEOs of other organizations. Well, you and I, our previous business plan 4 months ago was to hold a 4-month live mastermind and record it, transcribe it, find a ghostwriter, give it to one of our ghostwriters, maybe give it to Jen, have them work on a manuscript, and you know what? In 2 years, probably have a final book. Do you know what you can do right now? You can take that video, upload it, get it fully transcribed, tell ChatGTP and some of the other, there's a lot of writing AI, and say, go ahead and build me a manual out of this. Once you have a manual out of it, now go ahead and turn it into a book. Here are the stories that I want you to insert that I think are clever and personalized more about me. And within 30 days, you could now literally have it done. You could then take that book, you could deep fake your own voice, have it read by you, even though you were never once in studio, other than the recording of your voice. You can have captions AI installed. You could have auto-generated art go along with the book, or put the video in the background, and now have a product. Not in 2 years, not in 1 year, not in 3 months. If you are really ambitious, you could do it in weeks. So it's a time frame accelerator, and I think everyone can take advantage of that. And if I had an assignment for anyone here, is if you haven't hopped on any of the open IA sources that are out there right now,
go play with them.
Hop on right now before the day ends. Ask 10 intelligence specific directed questions.
Well, and so we showed it to someone and they played with it for a few minutes, and they're like, this is just Google. I ask it a question, it tells me the answer. And we're like, no, go beyond just Q&A. Don't look for information.
Don't look for knowledge.
Ask for it to do something for you.
Yes.
I had a member of my team sit down with me, and I was like, what's a writing project you've got right now? And they're like, oh man, I need to get a newsletter out for the Breakthrough Foundation. And I literally wrote, write me a newsletter for the Krohn Breakthrough Foundation. I didn't tell it what the foundation was, what we were about. I hit enter, and in seconds, it spit out a newsletter that was talking about limiting beliefs, how we're empowering people, helping them break through their obstacle. Seriously, verbatim, as if it came from you. Because that stuff is published online, the AI is aware of it, and it just leverages that to do it. So it spit out a newsletter. I asked it to prepare a Sunday school lesson. I told it what scriptures to use or whatever, and it starts spitting out this lesson plan.
When I look at
human wrote it.
When I look at a lot of the uses of AI right now, I think some of the people that are probably positioned to get the deepest impact on it are public figures, are influencers. And here's why. I have a database of thousands of videos. I've written multiple books and blogs and posts, like countless content. And because of that, now all of that is public knowledge and public information. And AI can aggregate from all of those sources and actually put opinion pieces, special reports, even write books for me. In my lifetime, I could write 1,000 books, but so could anyone else. So now it's about who's the first mover advantage on it. I think a lot of the AI benefit, there's like two. You're either a business person and there's a lot of entrepreneurial benefits, or you're a consumer and you're really into self-generated art. And those are like the two major uses that are out there right now. So anyone that owns a business, there's definitely advantage. But if you're a public figure with a lot of your information out there online like me, it means that the volume of content that I can actually write and put out there is significantly greater. And it's not going to require an army of 100 people.
Final thoughts on AI?
I don't know what it'll be in 2 years, but I know it'll be a heck of a lot smarter than it is right now. And right now, any technology that's come along, you find the light, you find the good, and you leverage it for good.